Welcome back to the Vintage Reserve. I have a passion for watches and have been collecting them for about 5 years now. Getting into watch collecting, though, can be a very expensive hobby. One way a lot of young collectors start out building a collection is through garage sale hunting. This weekend, there were several neighborhoods around me that had garage sale days where dozens of households were participating, so I went out looking for some deals. Now, when you ask people if they have any watches for sale at a garage sale, 9 times out of 10 you get dismissed. They say either that they never had any, or that someone already came around and bought them earlier in the day, or that they gave them to their kids. I'm actually pretty happy whenever I hear that the watches have been passed down. It gets more people into watch collecting, and it's a nice sentimental family heirloom. Occasionally, though, they will say that they think that they do have some watches, and they'll get up and head inside. Most of the time, they return with either a worthless fashion watch or some old Timex Marlin that's been scratched to hell and it's not even running. But on rare occasions, they will come back with something that's actually interesting. And once in a blue moon, they might come back with something really special. And man, did I find some special finds this weekend. So to start, there was a garage sale this morning in a neighborhood where I bought 2 watches from a lady. The first is this Kaisel Makant. It's a German watch. It's running and it's in okay condition, and I only paid $10 for it. The second is a Citizen Newmaster automatic. I also paid $10 for this, and these are both good examples of what a basic kind of okay find that you can often come across at a garage sale is going to look like. On Friday morning, one of the first garage sales I went to was a fancy new development, the kind where a house will set you back over $500,000. A few houses had sales, but the last house on the block had a garage sale that everyone seemed to be skipping. I went there and asked the guy if they had any watches for sale, and he immediately said no at first. But as he was saying it, you could tell his mind was kind of thinking, and then he immediately backtracked and said he might have a few. He went inside and actually came back with this Howard pocket watch. Now, I don't really collect pocket watches, but I appreciate them and have wanted a decent one to pair with the 3-piece suit I have. It wasn't running, and we tried to get the back off, but couldn't by hand. The guy didn't want to try prying it open with any tools or anything, and asked me what I was thinking. I told him I was interested, but didn't know much about pocket watches or the brand. I said that sometimes watches, like this can be solid gold. He told me that the watch wasn't, and I didn't think it was either. It wasn't running, and he said he'd sell it for $10 if I was interested. I told him that I knew a guy that could fix it up if it ended up being worth it, and that I'd risk $10 on it. Later, when I had time, I looked up the brand, and it's actually a pretty decent American-made pocket watch from the mid to late 1800s. These can actually be worth around $300 to $400, which is truthfully about 8 times more than I was expecting. The real surprise was when I pried open the back, though. It is stamped as 14 karat gold. I hear every once in a while about guys finding gold at garage sales and estate sales, but I've never gotten so lucky, though, to find any myself. This isn't, though, even the craziest find of the weekend. So on Friday, there was also a few sales in a retirement community, and one of the houses had this big plastic bin marked watches $2 each, with a few ruined digital watches at the bottom that were way beyond saving, not even worth the $2. There was, however, this old Lord Elgin watch. It's in not great condition and doesn't run, but I have this exact same watch in yellow gold, plated, not solid. And having a spare movement in case something breaks can actually be pretty handy, and it seemed to justify the $2. As I was looking through the bin, the guy tells me that the bin was actually full earlier, but some guys had earlier come around and bought most of it up. I hear this a lot, as professional gold scrappers and resellers often rush garage sales and estate sales, taking all the good stuff. I don't really care for that kind of business, since to me it always seems a bit shady. I've seen resellers hassle people for items, even go door to door the day before sales, kind of pressuring people to give them first picks. And I've even seen fights break out as people rush to grab valuables off tables. But then the guy went inside and came back as I was looking through the bin and some of the other items he had, and he came back with a plastic bag filled with more watches. He went through and actually picked 2 out and said he was keeping those for himself, but to my surprise, he poured the rest into the bin that I was looking through. The first one that I grabbed was this Loris. I like dress watches, and any kind of moon phase or watch with a day-night cycle I really like the aesthetic of, and it's just a fun watch for $2. Looks really classy to go with any sort of suit or more formal event. The next was this Invicta. Now this watch is massive, and to be honest, I'm not a fan of the brand for several reasons. There's a lot of controversy around them and their watches and business practices, and I don't really want to get into that, but I know a couple of guys who like them. And I thought, hey, if I can pick it up for $2, maybe make someone's day. And the band on it is actually made of alligator. So $2 for the band alone, if I ever have a watch that fits this diameter, lug to lug, it will probably be worth it just for the $2 alone. Then I spotted the watch, the last thing I ever expected to find at a garage sale. The title was not clickbait. This is my garage sale Tourbillon. Now, I didn't really inspect it very closely at first. Like the Invicta, I noticed it had a pretty decent leather band on it, and I put it in the pile. When everything's $2, you don't have a reason to look too closely. You just grab everything interesting. I did notice the balance wheel was exposed and that it was a mechanical watch, and I assumed it was a dial cutout to make the cheap Chinese movement look somewhat interesting. Big, bulky, heavy mechanical watches like this kind of design aesthetic are often something bought off of a site like AliExpress for $20. That's what I'm used to, seeing with these. But later when I took a closer look, I realized I got more than I expected for the $2. So this Android watch has a genuine tourbillon movement. The movement is still Chinese, but for those who know horology, any kind of functioning tourbillon is beyond impressive. This is a complication that, until more recently, started upwards of $100,000 in a watch. Even the Chinese versions are not cheap. A tourbillon rotates the balance wheel so gravity won't affect the watch's accuracy as much. It's one of the most complex and prestigious complications that can be found in a watch. And this watch retailed somewhere around $3,000 when it was new, which is still a lot of money, but it's nothing compared to the mortgage you'd have to take out for a Swiss-made one. You can sometimes find them nowadays of these Chinese tourbillons for around $600. So this watch is a genuine functioning tourbillon watch. The case is tungsten, which is partially why it's extremely heavy. The glass is all sapphire crystal, which is great, super scratch resistant. The band is made of shark skin. I've never come across a shark skin band before. It's very comfortable. And on top of having the tourbillon, it also has a GMT and a day-night indicator. And it's also a limited edition, number 2 of 500 for whatever that matters. Now, to be honest, I think the watch is pretty ugly. The bezel has these weird Allen key screws. The hands are too bold and clash with the dial, and it's overall way too heavy and thick for my tastes. The band actually, though, is pretty nice and the most comfortable aspect of the watch. Never would I have expected to find a real tourbillon watch at a garage sale of all places. I wanted to share this wild find with you guys. Let me know down in the comments what you'd do if you found a tourbillon at a garage sale, and if you've ever had a find that left you completely speechless. As we can see on the back, it is also an exhibition case back. It's not any extremely polished or super well finished movement. That's not the kind of thing that you're going to get from a cheaper, Chinese movement. This is the Vintage Reserve, and I guess now we have a tourbillon in the collection. Who would have thought?